I would like to thank St. Maurice for tagging me in this story right here. And this is an update. And I'm not even going to lie, with all the stories that I get, I sometimes will forget some of them or they'll slip through the cracks. But when I pulled up this article, it all came back to me. This individual's name is Michael Drejka. And if you remember last year in the state of Florida, he tried to use the stand in your ground defense when he killed Markeis McGlockton. If y'all don't remember who he is, he was the black guy who was protecting his girlfriend and their 5-year-old son from this man when he confronted the girlfriend who was sitting in the car at a convenience store. It was like maybe it's a gas station in that handicap spot. And when he was defending them, he ended up pushing this guy to the ground. They got into a physical altercation. This guy pulled out his gun and he shot and killed Markeis McGlockton. Then he was arrested and he was charged with manslaughter, and mainly because the people was pushing for him to get charged with something. Well, the update has come out and I'm actually shocked at what the results were. He was actually found guilty of manslaughter, despite actually allowing despite having allowed the stand your ground defense actually be used for his benefit in the case. The jury still found him guilty. Now, there's 3 things about this that actually was shocking to me. One, that for obvious reasons, this is a white guy using the stand your ground law. The last 2 times we saw about stand your ground law in the state of Florida, one person got away with murder and the other one, she had to end up going to jail just for firing the warning shots. Number 2, it was a black victim. That's the other shocking part, because again, it goes back to the George Zimmerman thing and Trayvon Martin. And number 3, the fact that he was actually found guilty. And according to the article, it said that it only took the jury 6 hours to find him guilty. They didn't drag it out. They found him guilty in the same day. So that is a very good thing, because this rarely ever happens. And again, this is in Florida where this is happening at. And they said that the girlfriend was there in the courtroom, and when the verdict was read, she was very excited, as I already know that she would be. Now, many of you are probably wondering, why is this not a Petty Pendergrass production? The reason being is because I'm waiting for the actual sentencing. Once the sentence comes, then we'll go from there. They said that with manslaughter being the charge that he's been convicted with, he could be sentenced up to 30 years in prison. And that's all they can. I'm glad they got him with the manslaughter, because if they went with first or second degree, then they would have been over leveraging trying to get him on a conviction that would not have stuck. So getting him on the manslaughter was actually the smart move to do, even though some people was like 30 years, that's nothing. And they said up to, so it could be less than 30 years. That's why I said I'm not doing the production yet until we find out what the conviction will be. But this is actually a shocking turn of events, because a lot of people back then thought that he would not be found guilty of his crime. But I guess the jury down there had a clear conscience and saw that this guy definitely was in the wrong. But I think the biggest shocking part is the fact that the stand your ground defense was actually there for him, but it still wasn't enough to get him found not guilty. I think that's the biggest shocker of the entire situation. But y'all let me know what y'all think about this update, and I will talk to you in the next one.